Hey everybody, it's GobletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing in the Brothers War Arena Open Day 2 event. This is going to be a best of 3 draft. We're going to be playing 4 rounds no matter what. If we get 3 or 4 wins, so if we win a majority of the rounds, we will be qualified for Day 2 draft number 2, where there are cash prizes on the line up to $2,000. But no matter what happens here, we're going to be running away with some amount of gems, which is pretty cool. So this again is going to be a best of 3 draft in the Brothers War Limited format. Without further ado, let's just hop into the draft. Alright, here we are, pack 1, pick 1. Pretty great rare, Mishra's Command here. It's a gigantic removal spell and a big sort of pump spell at the same time to get a bunch of extra damage in. Seems like a pretty solid pick. We also have Gnawing Vermin for self-mill, Mightstone's animation. Decent value play there, but I think we'll go Mishra's Command. Pack 1, pick 2. Howling Mine is not super playable. It's obviously pretty fun if you have a way to tap it, but that's not going to happen often. Mask of the Jadecrafter is pretty nice in any green deck. Get enough mana and you're going to spit out multiple golems out of this eventually. Pretty powerful. Clear Cutter's fine in the green decks, little ramp to work. Penrigan Strongbow, pretty good in the red aggro decks. I could see Strongbow or Mask of the Jadecrafter here. I'm going to lean towards Mask of the Jadecrafter. We're only on pick 2 right now, so I don't want to get completely tied into my first pick, and I do think this is just a really solid card in the green strategies. One of the best cards in the pack, probably the best one if you just don't consider the color balance of the format. Yeah. Pretty happy to go for Mask of the Jadecrafter here. 2 creatures off 1 card, always going to be a pretty good deal. Nice 2 for 1, even if the second creature you get out of it is relatively small. Not a fan of this pack, pretty much at all. We have some very filler creatures in green. They're both fine, but they're both filler. This is a pretty great combat trick in red, but it is just that, a combat trick. A little narrow. Audacity is a fine enchantment. Not super exciting. There's nothing good enough in another color to push us in that direction, but Warlord's Lead can be fine in a white deck, and Gix's Crest can be fine in a black deck. Neither of those really are a big reason to jump in that direction. I guess it's between Whirling Strike, Audacity, and a filler green creature here. Pretty weak cards for pick 3. Let's take the Whirling Strike, I guess, for red aggro stuff. That's always great in this format. Sarenth Steelseeker seems like pretty easily the pick here. 2 mana for 1/2. As Artifacts ETB, we're getting to pull lands out of our deck. Out of our top 2, or we get to just surveil. Or not top 2, just the very top card. Still, getting those extra lands there. Very good little value play, no matter what, you're getting that surveil. Definitely one of the better cards in the pack. That's what I'll roll with here. Works really well with Mask of the Jadecrafter as well, because that's multiple artifact ETBs, or enter the battlefield effects. Speaking of multiple artifact enter the battlefield effects, Scrapwork Cohort. Very good way to trigger cards that care about artifacts entering the battlefield, and just a really nice white card in general that could push us in that direction. We're not really tied to red right now, we just have the Mishra's Command, pretty much. Whirling Strike is just, if we do end up in red, it'll be very good. Could take Juggernaut to stick to red, but I think I'm going to go Cohort, because the Cohort works really, really well with the Sarenth Steelbreaker, and it's just a very good card in general. One of the better cards in the pack. 3/1 and a 1/1, get another 1/1 when you unearth it later. Super, super good stuff there. Blanchwood Prowler is a very nice green card. The Self-Mill is very good with Unearth. And we already have 2 Unearth cards, Mask of the Jadecrafter and Scrapwork Cohort. And this is a card that helps make sure that you keep hitting land drops, because you're getting a creature and a land drop out of it. So it can help you hit high mana costs, which is something the green decks generally like to do. Pretty big fan of Prowler here. I'll roll with it. Goliath's been so slow in this format. I might go Warlord's Elite over it. I don't think there's anything off color that pushes me hard enough in that direction. Yeah, I mean, Goliath has just played way too slow for me, unfortunately. The format's been a lot more aggressive than I had hoped. Moving towards green-white now. Energy Refractor is very good for being able, to fix your mana or splash things. Onulet's also quite good though, just because Unearth is an inherently pretty powerful effect, especially when you have Self-Mill like Blanchwood Prowler and Sarenth Steelseeker. So while Onulet is a weaker Unearth card than Cohort, it's still such a powerful mechanic that it might be worth the pickup. Yeah, I think I'm going to go Onulet here. I mean, Refractor would help us splash in that Mishra's Command, but hopefully that won't be entirely necessary. I guess if we're self-milling enough, Survivor of Corliss could do something. Pretty much this whole pack's relatively unplayable, so don't think the pick matters a massive amount here. We're definitely not playing equipment in this green-white pile. Everything we've taken so far is pretty much a creature. I highly doubt I'm playing either of these. Just throw the Power Blade in the sideboard. Alright. Good spot to be here, getting another Onulet. Medic's also fine, Aeronaut's Wings can be fine. We don't have any flyers, so Wings could be a relatively big buff, but I really like Onulet. I feel like Wings tends to go super late, but maybe Onulet does too. We'll see. Probably get both of those. Easy pick here, Warlord's Elite. Guess I'll take Survivor this time. Now we have one Survivor, one Power Blade. Lauren's Escape, fine little trick. Not super exciting, but it is cool to see it that late. That's good for us, trying to push in a green-white. Another Lauren's Escape. Actually, we take the Aeronaut's Wings this time. This is what I was talking about this card going super late. While it is probably solid in here, we get to just wait till like pick 14 to pick them up. Alright, pack 2, pick 1. What do we have? Blanchwood Prowler, Gnarlroot Pallbearer, Epic Confrontation. Yotian Tactician off a splash, or if we push into blue-white. We're not that hard in green right now. Tactician's the strongest card in the pack, but these green cards are also pretty great, and we have a good Unearth thing going on. 2, 3, 4 Unearth cards already. Prowler's actually probably just the nuts in here. And we also have literal 0 removal right now. I guess this is moderately whack, but we have no removal so far, so I should probably just take that removal spell. Epic Confrontation there. I do think the Blanchwood Prowler would be really good in this deck, though, because we have the Unearth cards to synergize with the Self-Mill. But when we have no removal, we're probably supposed to take the removal spell, and now we could pretty easily take Obstinate Baloth. 4 mana for a 4/4 and gain 4 life is just such a huge body. It helps stabilize against more aggressive decks in the format, while just being a really aggressive body for its mana cost. Baloth is very, very good, and I'm happy to take it here. Blanchwood Prowler would be a great wheel. If we can't get that back, Riposte would actually be fine in this deck. And Self-Assembler is another card that's pretty good value, just a 5 mana 4/4 draw card, even if that card is just like a 1/3 or something. Still a good value play, but I'm going to take the Obstinate Baloth here. Giant Growth and Military Discipline are fine combat tricks. Argothian Sprite, though, has been a relatively impressive creature. Just gives you a very good mana sink in the late game if you get into a top deck war, so probably roll with that. Pack 2, pick 4. There's a shoot down. Definitely better in best 2 out of 3 drafts, which is what this is, because we can sideboard it out when it's bad. If we're running a main deck copy, and we can sideboard it in when it's going to be very good. If we're not. Still feel like our creature count is looking pretty good right now. And this is an Arena Open event, so I'm going to be a little bit less descriptive than usual. And I'm going to be 100% ready to, look at my deck like this, where I'm going to be covering up a lot of the stuff in the pack. So if you're not very familiar with the format, probably not a great video for you. This is pretty high level draft of the format, so I'm going to assume you pretty much know everything in the pack by now if you're watching this video. Airlift Chaplain, great with the Unearth. Gnarlroot Pallbearer is a very good finisher, especially if we get more self-mill cards like Blanchwood Prowler and Airlift Chaplain. Don't have a lot when it comes to finishers right now, although I guess we could just Unearth a ton, theoretically. We got multiple 4/4s, there's a 4/4 there. Airlift Chaplain might just be sweet. Again, self-mill for that Unearth. Gives us a flyer as well, which we're very low on. We've got that Aeronaut's Wings, but that's about it. Yeah, I'm going to go for the Airlift Chaplain. Fill that grave. Phalanx Vanguard's pretty sweet. 2 mana 2/2 Vigilance, just good aggressive body there. A little bit bigger if you're playing any artifacts. Giant Growth also fine. But I'm going to go with that Phalanx Vanguard here. What is our green to white count looking like? If it's heavy enough towards green, Blanchwood Armor can just get a quick victory out of nowhere. 6/6, exactly even. Could take the armor here and hope to push farther into it. Disenchant's also definitely a sideboardable card. Although Burrowing Razor Maw in this deck's actually probably kind of sweet. Again, Unearth. You know, we're just gonna do the runner-up, just Unearth into Unearth deck today for the Arena Open event. Just Unearth it up and Seal, do it again in Draft. Completely different colors though, green-white instead of black, white, red. But do a very similar strategy here, it could be interesting. A lot of Warlords Elites right now. Wield the Ocean Tactician. Well, if we get some Power Stone Refractors, that could be good. Splash it in. Deadly Riposte here. Can be fine on the defensive. There's nothing else good. There's a blue-white land to splash in the Ocean Tactician. Soldier counts at 6 right now. That could be reasonable. This pack's unplayable. Rare Draft and Architect, just for picking an uncommon for Vault Progress. Nice late Gnarlroot Pallbearer, very happy about that one. Deck's looking pretty solid here. We don't have any bombs, which is a big bummer in the format, but we didn't have any bombs in the sealed pool either. It kind of just is what it is. Making the most of our position in the draft pod. This looks pretty solid to me. We get a Static Net here, very nice removal spell, gains us some life and gets us a Power Stone as we use it. We can use that Power Stone really well to cast artifacts or pay for unearth abilities and stuff, which can be good. Gaia's Gift's a ridiculously good combat trick, and I feel like our creature count's looking pretty nice now. Yeah, 15 creatures here. So I'm going to take the pretty incredible combat trick out of this pack. Although Opportunist is a really good 3-drop creature, and that is where we need creatures the most right now. We only have 2 3-drops. So Opportunist is tempting, but I am an absolutely massive fan of Gaia's Gift. This card's completely busted. It's just way too flexible. Hexproof, indestructible, reach when you need it, trample when you need it to finish a game. It's such a dumb card. I'm going to take Gift over Opportunist, but it's very close. Opportunist fills this curve really well. Synergizes great with the Steel Seeker and such. Another Mask of the Jadecrafter. Alright, come on in. If we're counting Mask of the Jadecrafter as a creature, we actually have 16 creatures already, and this will be the 17th. Which is a very nice, very high creature count for an aggressive deck. So, pretty good on that creature count, and we're not going to play this Survivor, most likely. It's probably just about what the deck looks like here. Another Argothian Sprite. No green or white removal. Animist isn't really good unless you have a lot of artifacts lying around. A lot of non-creature artifacts, so ideally it's with Power Stones. We don't have a lot of that going on, so I'm thinking Argothian Sprite here. I'm not going to run multiple copies of Aeronaut's Wings. If I do run it, it's going to be a one-of. But it can be a pretty solid one-of. I'm going to take the Argothian Sprite. Another Gaia's Gift is awesome, but I actually think I'd rather have an Airlift Chaplain here. The Unearth count is at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I guess that's not the greatest ever, but we do have a Gnarlroot Pallbearer as well that just cares about filling the graveyard in general. It's actually a hard choice. Gaia's Gift and Airlift Chaplain both looking really good here. I think I'm actually going to go for the Gaia's Gift, though, since the Unearth is just 5 here. Very happy to take Removal, Prison Sentence. Enchant any creature, make it so it can't attack, block, use its activated abilities. Essentially completely shut it down and scry 2. Lauren's Escape is kind of a worse version than the Gaia's Gift. It is half the mana, but the Gaia's Gift just does so much more. So many more abilities, so many more options. Deadly Riposte probably gets cut as well, because we're now putting more flexible removal that can get rid of more creatures, instead of just tapped small creatures. So we're probably cutting the Riposte and the Shoot down here, and those are the more situational removal spells that we can just put in when they're going to be very good, instead of just running main deck every time. Our green count should be a lot higher now. Yeah, we're at 10-7 on green. I could take another Shoot down, but I already just cut one, so it's just in the side to bring in when we need it. I might rather just have a Blanchwood Armor here. Power Stone Engineer's fine, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 good 2-drops already. Not necessary to have a 6. Take a Blanchwood Armor, it's a fun card. I don't know if it's going to make the cut, but I'm fairly certain I just cut the 6th 2-drop if I draft that. This pack's not good. Koilos Rock might be the strongest card. Scrapsmith if you had a ton of Earth. But just nothing for green-white. I'll start with the Blanchwood Armor in the sideboard, but it's an option. Ooh, another Onulet is sweet. All Onulets all day. I already got too many Warlords Elites. I'm probably cutting one for an Onulet. At this rate, I'll just take another Loren's Escape. My opponent is just all removal all day. We can sideboard in multiple Loren's Escapes and just really annoy them with all of our hexproof indestructible tricks. Now we're just going to throw a bunch of stuff into the sideboard. Has more potential. Already got plenty of good tricks. I'm actually going to take another Wings. Maybe we sideboard into a double Aeronaut's Wings deck in some specific matchup. Maybe our opponent just has a really annoying amount of good blockers on the ground to where Aeronaut's Wings really gets that damage in or something. Could be a thing. All right, we are kind of just green-white stuff here. Nothing in the sideboard looks particularly powerful. Like Blanchwood Armor can steal some games, but I don't know if we're heavy enough into green where that's going to be super, super good. I think I just want to cut one card out of the main deck and get into the gameplay here. We're at 16 creatures, but we also have 2 Mask of the Jade Crafters. Kind of like 15, 16, 17 creatures. I feel like I'm supposed to cut one creature here, and I'm just not sure which one I want to cut. The Razor Maws are actually pretty nice with Aeronaut's Wings. Yeah, that kind of makes me want to put another Wings in here. I don't think there's a very great way to make room for that. I cut one Onulet. We just have one Blanchwood Prowler, one Chaplain, 2 Razor Maw for self-mill. And the way we get value off of self-mill is double Onulet, Cohort, double Mask of the Jade Crafter. For 5 total unearthed cards. Seems fine. Gnarlroot Pallbearer becomes a very big win condition if we've self-milled a little bit, giving a huge +X buff. Yeah, this deck looks very reasonable to me. Again, no bombs, nothing super great going for it, which I have found personally to be kind of a big deal in this format, but there's literally nothing we can do about that. We just didn't open bombs. Like the rares that we passed up on or aren't playing are just like Mishra's Command, like a removal spell type card. Just didn't get that bomb power here in our draft pod. Yeah, consistent little Selesnya aggro deck. I think we call it a deck and just roll with it here. Alright, so here's a look at the list that we'll be playing with today. It's going to be just a very consistent, very basic green-white aggro deck. Little Selesnya aggro build here. Good amount of 2-drop creatures to get things rolling. Just a nice curve of relatively aggressive creatures in general. And some very nice top-end creatures, a bunch of 4/4s, several of which have Unearth, and the gigantic Pallbearer that gives a bunch of extra power when it hits the board to get a huge attack in. So we're going to be using our curve of pretty consistent aggressive creatures, leveraging some combat tricks to get some extra damage in, maybe some Aeronaut's Wings to fly over for lethal late in the game, and a stack of decent removal between Epic Confrontation, Prison Sentence, and Static Net. So very consistent, very basic green-white aggro deck today. This is going to be the build, and we're going to hope for the best as we head into the gameplay. Here we are for round 1 of the gameplay, and again, how this is going to work is we are going to be playing 4 rounds no matter what. We need to win a majority of the rounds to qualify for the second draft today. So we need to win at least 3 of the 4, and that is not a good start. That is a Transmigrant's Crown, which I would certainly qualify as a bomb from our opponent. It equips for a single black mana. The equipped creature gets +2/+0, and when that creature dies, it is going to let my opponent draw a card. So this card can be a very big problem, because every time we're trading things off, our opponent is going up in card advantage. And you always gotta love the very main deckable graveyard hate when you're playing good Unearth cards. one of those things that they end up putting into almost every limited format that has any graveyard mechanic. They just make sure to put in some common, uncommon graveyard hate that's very main deckable. And it kind of makes me sad every time. It's like, we don't need these safety valves. The graveyard mechanics aren't that busted that you need to be able to just randomly have a really good main decked piece of graveyard hate. I remember that was one of the things that I was really bugged about every time that I tried to draft like Disturb and Crimson Vow and stuff, and my opponent just has like 4 of the 2/3 Death Toucher that exiles a card in my graveyard. So this is already a horrible start. They have a flyer that they're giving +2/+0 to. If I equip and trade off, they're going to draw a card off the crown. This crown's just a really big deal. We're going to need to side in our shoot down. It's already looking like a possible L here. Probably just equipping, passing, and dropping some Onulets, because they'll gain some life when they die. But this is not a good start at all. Have to 2-for-1 ourselves to kill that. Our opponent loses their Locust but draws a card. We lose our Prowler. So they got 2 cards of value, we got 1 card of value. So that's them going up in card economy. And now the crown goes to the Skullflayer, which is more than big enough that I'll need to trade into that and 2-for-1 myself again. It's kind of going to turn into a game here where my opponent draws 2 cards a turn and we draw 1 a turn. Could try very hard to outrace them with Pallbearer going on here and a mountain of 4/4s. But if I just don't block at all, I'm taking boatload here. I'm going to move the equipment to Transmigrants. Much happier to let Transmigrant through than let Skullflayer through. I'm still not happy to do it, but since Transmigrant can't block anyway, oh, I guess they could just keep moving it back and forth. Yeah, this is bad. We're just gonna single-handedly lose to Crown. So my alternative play there was trade with Transmigrant. They draw a card, and then they can just recast Transmigrant from grave later. And then they still move the crown over to Skullflayer anyway. This game is a big yikes. We're getting double rared pretty hard right now. 18 life. They've got a 4/3 down. We do have the Aeronaut's Wings. That is big. That is a thing. I'm getting a lot of life off double Onulet. I have no way to cast multiple cards this turn. I could cast a Cohort and equip a Wings and then just go on the chump block game plan. Try to outrace them in the sky. If that's ever not working, we can get to where we're trading Onulets off and gaining life. I think that's where we're at here. Try to outrace them in the sky. Get a lot of mileage off the Aeronaut's Wings. They're dead in 4 swings. They don't have any life gain. They have plenty card draw, but they don't have life gain. Can probably kill them in 3 swings if we can get this Pallbearer to trigger for at least +3. It's currently at +1, but we can block with Cohort to make sure that's in the graveyard. When we when we cast the Pallbearer. There's a Pallbearer of their own. Alright, that doesn't give trample or anything. It does have trample, so it's going to be a really nasty attacker next turn with a crown on it, but this turn we can still get a nice clean chump block with our 1/1. Probably move crown to... Ooh, they do not move the crown. Okay. So that means I do get to kill Transmigrant here without them drawing a card. Just slam dunk these blocks, I think. A lot of power on their board, but again, we get to kill them in 3 attacks. Maximum. If I can get this Onulet to die, I can just kill them in 1 more attack after this. Oh, Gaia's Gift as well? I think I'd rather play the Warlord's Elite and see if I can get that to die instead then. Because then I can hold up the mana for Gaia's Gift to make sure Onulet is still on board, then Pallbearer next turn for lethal. So we get that 5 damage in 100% for sure. And then we're going to Warlord's Elite, tapping a land and an Aeronaut's Wings to hold up a Gaia's Gift. And all we need to do here is make sure the Onulet is still on the board to give Pallbearers +2/+2 to that. Or +3/+3 after the Elite dies here. Don't want to give them a card draw, so I'm just going to block Pallbearer. If they have instant speed removal, they'll get us here. But hopefully they just use it during their turn before we untap. Gwenna. Alright, they have one card in their hand. Ironclaw Crusher, that is not instant speed removal. Pallbearer for +3/+3 to the Onulet will be lethal. They do not have reach on anybody. I'm fairly certain. Yes, Pallbearer for +3/+3 is going to be lethal, so we do not reveal the Gaia's Gift. Don't want them to have that information going into the next round to know to play around that card. And there you go. That is going to be 8 damage in the sky, and that is going to be outracing the Transmigrant's Crown 1-0 to start off round 1. Incredible stuff from Aeronaut's Wings. Definitely liked that in this matchup. I could put an additional. I still think that they're going to be really bad. If we draw duplicates, it's going to feel like we're down a card. Because as we can see that game, I think it's going to revolve around just slapping one of our creatures up with the wings. So if we have 2 wings on the board, one of them is going to be very redundant. We're basically going to be down a card. It's going to feel like we mulliganed. So I still don't love 2 copies. I definitely would probably never run 3. But maybe a second copy for redundancy is okay here. Because statistically speaking, we shouldn't really draw both at the same time that often. I was going to say I would like to shoot down here, but honestly, we just outraced the Crown. And that was the card we were the most scared of. I could still run it, though. Like, it can also exile the Transmigrant, so they can't get that back from grave throughout the game. So, shoot down, Aeronaut's Wings are possibilities. Onulet played really well, so another Onulet's a possibility. But, I mean, it never died, so it was just a 5-mana 4/4, so I guess another 5-mana 4/4 is not that exciting. We're going to be on the draw this time. Which could slow us down. I mean, honestly, here I'm pretty happy with just the regular main deck. We didn't see any removal spells for our Gaia's Gifts. They're still really good just in combat, though. Kind of want to keep them still. So I don't think there's anything in the deck that I would just call, like, blatantly bad here. I think everything's fine. Mask might be a little slow. I'll cut, like, 1 mask for a shoot down. I don't know. Just roll with that. If you can't tell, I don't do a lot of sideboarding. Basically, the only times in my life that I sideboard are during these Arena Open Day 2s. Vast majority of the time, I'm just playing best of 1 ranked drafts. It's a pretty nice opener here. We have both of our mill cards. We have 2 of our unearthed cards in hand, though, and I cut one of them, so we're pretty unlikely to mill ourselves for any, like, great value here. But we'll see. Opponent takes a mulligan on the play here, so they're definitely down a card. Ooh, Argothian Sprite. I don't need the land from Prowler for some time, so just starting to poke our opponent for 2 every turn seems nice. The opponent had a few artifact creatures, so it's possible that the Sprite can get in unblocked. The Argothian Seer Mist. Nope. Rare number 3 it is. Gwenna, Eyes of Gaia. Tap for 2 mana of any combination of colors. When they cast creature spells with power 5 or greater, they put a counter on this and untap it. Lift some stuff up in the sky here. Draw planes, or I can draw nothing off this. Would I rather have a 2/2 flyer or guarantee my 5th mana for Onulet? Onulet is the only card in my hand that needs the 5th mana, so I think I'll just take the 2/2 flyer. So opponent is on Transmogrant's Crown, Ashnod's Transmogrant, Gwenna, Eyes of Gaia as their rares / bombs to worry about. Right, Argothian Opportunist gives them a Power Stone, getting them some more mana. Help them cast some large creatures. And a Carrion Locust to exile nothing. That's kind of weird, but it's not actually bad here. I'm kind of okay just trading my Airlift Chaplain into this Locust, so I feel like I'm probably supposed to save Shoot Down for something more explosive or dangerous. Like if I shoot down this Locust and my opponent just casts a Transmogrant's Crown, that's going to end up playing pretty poorly for me. So I'm probably just on like Warlord's Elite tapping the Argothian Sprite here. Well, there you have it. Happy to have a shoot down. This is still going to be a pretty devastating attack here. Take 7 out of 13. And a Hoarding Recluse, so my Chaplain is useless. This doesn't attack massively well. I mean, I guess it trades with Elite, which is pretty good, but then I can block there, I can trade there. We're ahead in cards. We're ahead in cards, and my opponent doesn't have a great way to get damage in here, so we just play the long game from here. Especially with Mask of the Jadecrafter to really take over once this Recluse gets out of here. They only have one card in hand. They can only possibly have one combat trick. I cannot think of a trick in green or black that affects every creature on board. So they can make one of these combats go pretty firmly in their favor with a Gaia's Gift, but the other two are going to happen and trade off. They'll be down to a 2/3 and whatever's in their hand. We've got 4 cards to still play here to trade off with whatever else they play, so I'm just going to go for the triple block. Moment of Defiance. Alright. That is the only combat where that would win, is on the Opportunist. They couldn't save the other 2 creatures, so that explains saving the 3/2. So if I don't hit a land here, I just drop a Prowler and a Mask of the Jadecrafter. It's going to be a pretty painful turn. Yikes. Yeah, it is going to be a painful turn. If I did draw a land there, then we just slam down a 4/4, and we're golden. We are not golden here, though. Okay, now I know I can Onulet next turn. I could play it monumentally safe. Just drop a 1/1 with the Mask of the Jadecrafter and save the Unearth for later, but my opponent seems to have a lot of graveyard hate between Recluses and... where did that bird go? Oh, they put it on the bottom? Oh, the Carrion Locust. I could hold up a Gaia's Gift instead, I guess. Doesn't feel awesome, but at least I get to kill Opportunist here, maybe. Actually kill something on the block. It's probably better than just playing a Mask and not using it this turn. And I don't think I'm going to play Mask and make a 1/1. That seems really bad. So now I just drop Onulet. And then I have the better board state. And we start slowly but surely just slamming in for 4 damage a turn. Because I get to slam in for 4, then play a 4/4 blocker. Then slam in for 8, play a 4/2 blocker. Just make sure I have something big enough to block and trade with Gwenna at the very least. And keep chipping in for damage. Phalanx Vanguard, Razor Maw. Slamming the Onulet. Prowler's not going to get any good damage in. I could Mask plus Warlord's Elite. That seems like a pretty solid turn to me. Turn it down a little bit. Alright, we just have kind of an endless supply of 4/4s over here. An opponent has to play off the top. These 4/4s are very quickly going to turn into lethal in just like 2 attacks at this point. So I attack with 2 4/4s next turn. They probably don't block either. They go to 9, then I make a 5/5 off Mask. Uh-oh. They may have drawn into a big creature. Oh, they certainly did, an Iron Claw Crusher. That changes things. For sure. Do you have a good amount of removal in this deck? Not a good amount, I have like 3. I milled one of them though, didn't I? Yeah, milled the Static Net. Cast the Shoot Down earlier, milled the Static Net. I could still draw the Prison Arrest thing, Prison Sentence. Just my main way to get rid of the Crusher. Our Gothian Sprite is going to be big enough to attack into the Crusher. Well, big enough to attack into the Gwenna. It's unblockable by the Crusher. I need to get 7 mana out though to activate that. 5/5 here is not big enough to attack into Crusher. I need to wait till I have a 6th mana. So for now we go Sprite Razor Maw. We don't have any attacks into Crusher, but our opponent can't really afford to attack into us either. Right, because I just chump with a Prowler and then attack for 1,000,000. So I just need to draw 1 land to make a 6/6 off of the Mask. Or draw a Prison Arrest to shut off the Crusher. Or if I draw 2 lands to start buffing the Sprite. All of those are ways to start attacking again. Gaia's Gift, oh that's reasonable. And that's not going to win combat? Because it's not going to kill the Crusher? Unless I make a 5/5 from the Mask and then attack in Gaia's Gift with it later. I mean, Gaia's Gift makes an attack pretty reasonable here, because I can attack with everybody. The problem there is that they block a 4/4 with the 4/6 and the 2/2 Sprite with Gwenna, and I can only really win one of those combats. I have to lose the Sprite then and make one of my 4/4s a 5/5. I hit them for 8, 9, 10, maybe? You hit them for 10 if that happens and only lose 1 creature. That is probably lethal in 2 attacks. If they don't have a removal spell here. If they do have a removal spell, they probably wouldn't have just played it, because all our creatures are pretty equally valuable, so they can try to use it at instant speed. Instead, they've got something instant speed here. Makes me feel like the Gaia's Gift, just go for it attack, is a little too risky. I kind of want to wait till I get the 6/6 out of the Mask. We're still just 1 land away from that. The problem with playing that way is we know our opponent's deck has bombs. Okay, Skullflayer's not that bad. Will be pretty bad once one more of their creatures dies, though. There we go, there's the Prison Sentence. Okay, so now we're just going for it. Like, Prison Sentence or any of the 12 lands left in the deck were great draws there, and we hit the Prison Sentence, which is awesome. Probably keep Confrontation and Razor Maw, honestly. Only save 1 2/2 with Gaia's Gift. One of them will die to a 2/3. I would just do this and Gaia's Gift on the Razor Maw. I guess I am tagging with... You know, I've got 3 2/2s coming in. Sure. We just save the Razor Maw and let whatever 2/2 they block die. Just to get in for that extra damage. Eight, 9, 10, 11, 12. I mean, I'm hitting for 12, putting them to 5. This is already more than winning position. So I'm actually just going to let that happen. Playing it massively safe with this Gaia's Gift. Because I have no idea what instant they could have there. Ew. Why does it make fleshy fibble-thip eyeball sounds? What is going on up there? Okay. Burrowing Razor Maw. Yeah, we can Gaia's Gift for lethal this turn because we're going to cohort and have Gaia's Gift up. This is well over lethal, even without having saved something last turn. And now we still have the gift if they try to do Overwhelming Remorse or anything here. 2 blockers means block, block, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Far over lethal with cohort, triggering Vanguard twice, making it a 4-2 vigilance. And there's the 6 mana for the mask. Could be a 6-6. Gotta love the not once activated Mask of the Jade Crafter. I guess if they have Moment of Defiance again, that would probably let them live because they can gain 6 life off Razor Maw. But they are just going to take it all, and that's going to be 2-0. We have won the first round of the Arena Open Day 2. We are officially getting at least like 1,000 gems, I think. So pretty nice stuff here. I may want to do a little bit of deck editing heading into the next round because of how Mask of the Jadecrafter played there. Ooh, we're getting 1,500 gems. All right, let's go. So 3 rounds to go after this. We need to win at least 2 of them to get into the next draft. Mask of the Jadecrafter was pretty slow for this deck. Felt like just getting more aggressive with our 2-drops and stuff and leveraging our combat tricks was better. That being said, I don't really have anything that much faster to put in instead, right? Like I cut a Mask of the Jadecrafter and I put in just main deck a Shoot Down or an Onulet or something. Those are also just kind of slow. Yeah, I'm probably going to run it as is, but Mask of the Jadecrafter is a pretty easy first card to swap out in this deck, because we're not really like running any Power Stones or regular ramp or anything to make that card any faster, so it is quite slow if it's a more aggressive skewed deck. Here we are in round 2. We are going to be on the play. Incredibly awkward keep here. We heavily need to hit a plains, and that means we're asking to draw our 5th land to be able to cast stuff. So a good draw for us means that we have 5 lands in the hand this early in the game where it's really easy to flood. I think I'm going to mulligan this. This is significantly better. I'm going to keep this and drop the Gaia's Gift most likely. There's nothing that we have in this hand that's really that important to protect with a Gaia's Gift. That being said, we could cut a land out here because Prowler can hit another land, and we don't really want to hit like 5 lands currently with this hand. So this is still a 3-land hand, basically, and then I just need to draw 1 land naturally to get cohort out. This might be a little bold. I probably should have just gotten rid of Gift. We do have good 5-mana plays in the deck, just not in the current hand. Alright, we did immediately draw land, so now it's kind of a 4-lander. Pick up the plains here. Could have not picked up the land to make this a 2-2 so the courier can't really attack in well, but I'm already just going to trade with courier if they send it in. It's a card for a card. Steel Seeker is an issue. Every time an artifact's entering the battlefield under their control, they are getting to look at the top card of their library. And if it is a land card, they're getting it into their hand, so it's a very good value play. Now, a Battlefield Butcher, that's also an issue. That can just sit there and kill you without ever attacking. Especially when the graveyard starts getting full, they get to use that ability for free. Just curve out here, get an Obstinate Baloth. And that is a very good card to start attacking with. That is a very good card to have Gaia's Gift alongside. Are they splashing blue here, or are they just running Courier for just the 1 card draw? Just up that artifact count for Steel Seeker. I guess that's possible. Send in with Baloth. Something weird happens, be Gaia's Gift. Nothing happens, be Cohort. I assume nothing's really going to happen here. Yeah, they're just going to draw a card. a-okay with me. I could Gaia's Gift just to hit them for 5, turn it into a 2 mana, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature, deal 5 to your opponent's face. That's what I'm talking about with how flexible Gaia's Gift is with the amount of abilities it gives. Where it's like, yeah, you can save your creature from a removal spell, you can make your creature win combat, you can block a flyer out of nowhere, you can trample over out of nowhere. This card's stupid. You know, like in that position, I could have just chosen, this is a 1 and a green to deal 5 to my opponent and put a +1/+1 counter on my Baloth. It's combat tricks nowadays. We are some spoiled Magic players. Alright, so opponent still doesn't have blue. They probably have some energy refractor type spells to get that blue mana. Yeah, we're just gonna keep playing 4/4s and slam it in. Seems pretty reasonable to prison sentence this Butcher in the future. But for now, I just want to get as many creatures out as possible. Once I have a really big board state that can just bash through once that thing's gone, then I'll go ahead and use removal on that. That gives my opponent more time to play scarier threats before we choose what we want to remove, and it makes it so my removal spell is as impactful the turn I play it as possible. Just play the removal and immediately hit for a ton. Ironclaw Crusher. Alright, that's a reasonable target for removal. Steel Seeker does find a land for my opponent. Very nice for them. Okay. I'd rather get a Power Stone right now. I have no reason to get a Power Stone, so I'm just going to prison sentence. And get the Scry instead. Seems a lot better right now. Razor Maw's fine. Yep, Razor Maw's fine. I'll take it. Another 4 Power Dork, good with Gaia's Gift. Chum block on the Warlord's Elite. And opponent will be down to 12 and we'll pass the turn. Battlefield Butcher's going to start popping off. We're down to 22. We've taken a lot of damage. Obstinate Baloth is just a rude Magic card. That card is obstinate. Goring Warplow, that's annoying. Some Death Touch going on for only 2 mana. And the main deck shoot down on the removal on the Crusher. That's cute. Yeah, it's a thing. We're getting this Crusher out of the way, and we're going to trample over the Death Toucher and potentially find lethal. Probably not, but it's possible, so I'm just going to attack all. Four, 5, 6, 10. Put them to 2 life, close enough. Close enough when we have Cohort hasting in next turn. Surveil from our opponent. That is always a great sign when you see your opponent surveil in their main phase, because they've already drawn their card for turn, so it's not going to affect what's in their hand. Alright, so 1-0 to start off round 2. Check out that battlefield again. Shoot down looks good in the matchup. They've got the Warplow, they've got the Crusher more importantly. I think Shoot Down is definitely better than a Mask of the Jadecrafter here, one of these. So we'll keep that option. The Aeronaut's Wings does look good here. We didn't see any reach or flying. So jumping over their 1/4s and 1/1 Death Touchers and all that seems good in the matchup. And other than that, I think that's it. I don't really want to put in the second Wings, and I don't really want to do much else than throw a Shoot Down in. It's very possible the deck should just be 1 Mask and 1 Shoot Down main deck instead of the double Mask. Because that's 2 rounds in a row now we've been just putting the Shoot Down. This is actually awkward. The mana's pretty great. We're just not getting started with 2 drops as we'd want. We need to draw at least 1 land. We're on the draw. I'll roll with it. Is opponent on the double mole over there on the play? This hand is more than slow enough that opponent could get some traction even with a 5 land, even with a 5 card hand, I should say. So we might still have a real game here despite their mulligan to 5, and Combat Courier certainly helps. That has multiple card draw effects if they get the blue source ever. Alright, we did hit the 4th land, so that's a really good sign for us. That means we're definitely still in the game. Although, again, with the multi 5, I wasn't mega worried. Okay, so we are definitely curving out Chaplain here, and we want it to be a 2-2. We've got 5 mana anyway, so I don't need to pick up a Plains here. Don't really need to pick up a Razor Maw. Got plenty more threats to play. Rather just have this be a 2-2 flyer. So I stop all of their attacks right now, and then I can start chipping in for 2 damage a turn to them. Gruesome Realization. Draw 2, lose 2, and they're pretty much back in it. We're pretty much tied when it comes to cards now, because they've drawn 2 off Realization, they'll draw 1 off Courier later. Could just Static Net Butcher immediately if I'm that annoyed by it, but it's probably best to just keep playing creatures right now. Just keep playing Dorks. I'm good to attack with Chaplain, because I can just block their 1-1 with my 1-1 token, and if Butcher wants to attack, they can get 1 damage, and that is something that's going to get killed. Draw your 2nd card each turn, each opponent loses 2 life, and you gain 2 life, so it's a Baby Sheoldred. When it dies, return a creature with mana value 3 or less from grave to battlefield. So when it dies, it has a really good trigger. Okay, so I guess we're going to Static Net that, and preferably our opponent won't have a shoot down to just blow up our Static Net. I think I Static Net it right now, because we know they can drain us for 2 life next turn, off Combat Courier getting sacrificed. Although just playing Onulet seems reasonable here as well, because then we have an Onulet to put wings onto, and then the turn after that we'll have 6 mana to play Static Net plus equip wings. This actually might be a little greedy here, but I'm going to go for the Onulet this turn, so next turn I can make use of all 6 mana, get a really nice Static Net plus equip wings. And if our opponent does just go for the card draw of Combat Courier here, that's going to be 2 of their mana. That's half of their mana being spent just to trigger Puppeteer and draw a card, which means they're probably not expanding their board state in a particularly meaningful way. Oh, shoot down the Onulet. Well, there goes the shoot down for the Static Net. I guess there's that. Yeah, and now I can still do the Aeronaut's Wings thing here. And we just have the 1-1 blocker for the Courier. So, I mean, we can get hit by the Butcher for 1 damage, but that's fine. We kill them in 3 attacks. Yeah, we're at 22 life here. We really don't need to worry about a crackback. Incidental life gain from cards like Static Net and Obstinate Baloth have been pretty comfortable for us. And Aeronaut's Wings has been a very big overperformer in this deck. Like, yeah, there goes our 3-1, but we can still kill them in 2 attacks. Just put the wings onto the 1-1 here. Happily. Go for the throw at the Chaplain, sure. They go down to 6. Now it will take 3 attacks to kill them. Just a little awkward. Could shoot down the Courier just so they can't draw 1 card, but it's probably best to save it for in case they top deck something better. Steel Seeker's not horrible. Now if Vanguard dies, still got a... I guess I already have a 1-1 I can put the wings onto. If Vanguard and my 1-1 die, I still have something to put wings onto. Another land for our opponent that might just be dead on board here. They've got nothing in hand. Let's see. Just going to butcher us and take 3, and we are going to be 2-0 in the Arena Open Day 2. We only need to win one more match to make it into Arena Open Day 2 draft number 2. So see if we can win one more match here. Very nice start though, no matter what. We're going to get 2,500 gems out of the event. Round 3 of the Arena Open Day 2 draft. We are on the play here. Another kind of awkward hand. No 2-drop, no 3-drop going on. Just setting up a mask and chilling. Opponent is on the mole to 6. They are on a red deck. I hate to see that. Now we do have a 3-drop play though, which is nice. I do not want to sack my Mask of the Jadecrafter to make a 0-0 arena. Thank you. Alright. We are facing against best deck in format here, red aggro. Feldon turn 2. The very scary rare haste creature. When it trades off, they even get to draw a card out of their deck, basically. Exile cards equal to the damage dealt. They can cast one that turn. I could just make a 3-3 and that cannot get in anymore. Probably do want to play really defensive against a red deck that just starts with turn 2 Feldon. Obviously, if my opponent Excavation explosions this thing, this will be pretty bad for us. But sort of like we spent half a card, not a whole card, since we do get another creature off the mask later. Alright, Conscripted Infantry, and we've basically shut off Feldon for now. That is a 3-1. I need to get at least a 1-1 here. I could see Chaplain and actually just pick up a Plains being fine, because Chaplain can still block infantry as a 1-1. Save our removal for bigger threats still. Okay, well, we don't have a Plains to pick up, so I guess it's just 2-2 Flying Chaplain it is. This falls into a 1-1, right? Yeah. Playing that long game here. We've seen in our other games our deck is full of 4/4s. Visions of Phyrexia is a huge deal, because that card can draw my opponent an extra card each turn. So I'm just going to exile that. And we're chilling. We're vibing. So they exile the top card of the library, they can play it this turn. At the beginning of their end step, if they didn't play a card, they get a tapped Power Stone, so just shutting off their draw 2 per turn. They get another 3-1 and a 3-2. Okay. So we need some more good blockers. 4/4s are very good blockers. So we'll play some of those. And then hopefully just have bigger cards than our opponent to close out this game. Mask of the Jadecrafter already can make another 3-3 minimum. Any more lands we draw is going to make that bigger and bigger. Potentially making a 4-4 or a 5-5 late in the game. Mask of the Jadecrafter actually looking kind of sweet in this matchup. That being said, I think I'm still cutting something. Maybe the 4-2 body of Razormaw's awkward against all these cheap little aggro creatures with like 3 power. But I'm definitely putting a shoot down in here when we see a Visions of Phyrexia from our opponent. So this is going to be round number 3 where I sideboard in my shoot down. And I'm pretty sure they're mono red here. They are going to explosion my 3-3, fair enough. Send in Feldon. +2/+0 trick here. Nope, they just want to exile 4 cards and choose one of the 4 to play. Oh, they're blue-red, Third Path Iconoclast. And an island here. So they are blue-red, primarily red though. Close to mono-red. They're picking the Dragon Engine. They'll have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If they play a land next turn, they can play... Oh wait, no, Foundry Inspector makes it, so they can play that. Well, I can't kill the Foundry Inspector, so... They do get to make a 5/5 flyer that we will cast a Prison Sentence onto. We attack with Onulet, they double block with these 2, but then I can unearth it later, which is fine. I can just play another Onulet this turn. I'm not going to play Prison Sentence here until they play Dragon Engine, so... I'm gonna start clearing the stuff off their board eventually, and I'm at 20, so I can take crackbacks. Especially when these cards gain me life when they die. Actually, Onulet seems premium in this matchup. Alright, there's a Dragon Engine. And the Dragon Engine's essentially gone. Gaia's Gift seems good. Prowler does not seem particularly crazy here. Get in there, Onulets. Let's close this game out. Close this game out before our opponent top decks anything super scary. They are down to 8. They are looking to crack back as much as possible. Maybe like sibling rivalry type stuff. Hopefully we have a Gaia's Gift up by the time they try to cast that nonsense. Because if they just blow up my Razor Maw right now, then I'm going to have to mill this Gaia's Gift. Which is not ideal. Hit me for 3. Down to 17. Bone Saw. That is a very aggressive deck if they're running a Bone Saw in there. This is only really good in the most aggressive of aggressive decks, where you really, really, really care about the power of your creatures. But we could tell already they are very aggressive. That is good with infantry here, making it a 4-power creature against our Onulets. Alright, so I've got Gift up now. So I can potentially even just trample over for the victory, so I'm just going to attack all. We know they have something they can do at instant speed here, most likely, but we are in the Arena Open Day 2, so players can very much just be playing in full control mode. If I weren't recording, if I weren't streaming, I guess I'm not streaming, I'm recording. If I weren't recording, I'd probably be playing in full control mode, just my opponent can't know when I have stuff. Just always looks like I have something. Alright, my opponent needs something very good here for Gaia's Gift to not make this lethal. 5 mana instant, could be 5 damage to a creature. Could be 5 damage to a creature, they'd have to use it on the Razor Maw to survive. Or no, they can use it on this Onulet. Let's see. Present lethal. Alright, present lethal and find lethal. 1 and 0 in round 3. So, we're playing against an aggro deck and they're on the play. Let's get a riposte in here for sure. Because they're going to be on the play, hitting us as aggressively as possible, as quickly as possible. So just shooting one of their creatures and gaining some life is an inevitability. Yoshin Medic also looks pretty good against all of their 3/1 bodies and 1/1 bodies they can make, so these two seem awesome. Survivor of Corliss even seems fine. Probably not as good as these two. I think these two are snap includes for sure. Shoot Down is a possibility. It would get rid of Dragon Engine, it would get rid of Visions of Phyrexia, it would get rid of Foundry Inspector. But it is a lot slower. It's a 4-mana removal spell, which isn't the greatest against a hard aggro deck. But these 3 are definite possibilities. Mask of the Jadecrafter did play very well there. So that's a thing. I don't think our 3-mana 4/2s play very well in this matchup, so I'm actually going to cut both of those for Riposte Medic. And then how do we make room for Shoot Down? I think everything else in here plays pretty well. I mean, Aeronaut's Wings might not be necessary, because our creatures are just bigger eventually. Maybe we cut a Wings here. And just go more Mask of the Jadecrafter style, really big stuff to win. Cut a Wings or a Mask seems reasonable. For this Shoot Down. Big fan of the Yoshin Medic and Deadly Riposte in here though, for certain. Quite like the Prowler, quite like the Steel Seeker. I think I'm going to cut Wings here. Just play exclusively creatures and removal spells, pretty much. So we can just trade 1-for-1 into all their attackers all day long. We just clear it all out of the board in the early game and then just have larger threats than what they can cast just by being in green. Not a beautiful hand, but it's fine. We'll roll with it. We have a turn 4 Warlord's Elite here. It's the coolest thing we can do. Opponent does get the island immediately. Blue-red, and Air Marshal is the first play. 2-1, they can get some stuff flying. We've got the double mask. That's a little awkward. A little awkward, but if the game goes long, it's going to be very good. Snap trade. They are the aggro deck. So we just need to try to make the game go long by any means necessary. Chaplain here. Prowler's actually pretty reasonable. I'll take that. Because again, I'm just going to keep trading off. If I make Chaplain a 2-2, I'm still just going to trade it into infantry. So might as well make it a 1-1 here and go up a card. If we can keep 2-for-1ing and having our cards just draw into another card like Airlift Chaplain just did and like Blanche Propeller will, then we're going to be in a really good position. And now I can riposte the Inspector. So we go Prowler, play whatever land we draw off the Prowler so that we don't give them any extra information on our hand. Okay, we didn't hit a land, so I guess we just play that. And then we riposte the Foundry Inspector here. I guess since we didn't hit a land, we just get to block as a 2-2. I probably should have played Mask there. Just threatened to block as a 2-2. I guess there's not a massive reason that we need to play Mask the Jadecrafter immediately, so I could still hold it just to have the riposte if my opponent tries to play a combat trick here to win this combat, because then we get a 2-for-1, kill their combat trick and their Inspector off of the riposte. There's the Dragon Engine. This does 3 damage, so it can kill the Dragon Engine, so I'm very happy with that. Because of that, I just... And I can take a little bit of damage from that. I'm just going to play a 4-4 here. I was going to say, because of that, I could just play Vanguard and hold up that, but this is a maximum of 3 damage this turn. That's if they spend all of their mana to buff it. So, riposte just main phase next turn seems pretty good to me too. Draconic Destiny. Well, holding up riposte would not have gotten rid of that. So, that's a thing. We will have to actually compete to outrace that, because that's +1/+0 for just 1 mana over and over and over again. Ah, never mind. Ah, piece of candy. We played against a lot of bombs already. +1/+1 Flying Haste. 1 mana +1/+0. When it dies, return Draconic Destiny to its owner's hand. Yeah, I mean, I obviously wish I had the mana to shoot down and riposte, but they hit me for a max of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 next turn. I'm going to gain life off riposte the turn after this. Yeah, we're getting rid of Destiny immediately. And I'm not going to save 1 life by blocking with Elite here. Well, pretty nice shoot down there. Kind of a good thing we sided that in. And this is going to be an equally nice Deadly Riposte. 4 mana, what are they playing, a 4-drop? They are playing another Dragon Engine. It's actually kind of scary. Still wishing I had 1 more mana here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's +3/+0. That's 4 damage in this guy. I can block on the ground easily. 4 damage in the sky. I can outrace because I've got Onulet Engrave. I mean, I can't do anything about blocking in the sky, so I'm definitely sending Elite in. I don't think I actually kill a Dragon Engine right now, because it's only adding 1 more damage. 2 Dragon Engines are competing for their mana resources, right? So if 2 of these attack us and they spend 6 mana, they're dealing 5 damage. If 1 of these attacks us and they spend 6 mana, they deal 4 damage. So I'm literally stopping only 1 extra damage by killing 1 right now, so it's probably better to actually just play this dork so I can try to have more threats on the board to be racing them with. And it might actually be better to go like Vanguard. Vanguard Mask here. 6, I just, again, still really wish I had 6 so I could go Vanguard and Cohort or something like that. I guess I could just Vanguard and Riposte instead. It's better to do that off their attack here once they start spending a bunch of mana. Oh god, what did they draw into that they need? All 6 mana untapped. What on earth did they draw into that they need all 6 mana untapped at instant speed? Good lord. I mean, I'd like to use my mana during my turn. Alright, well, I don't know what it is, but just let that happen for now. Oh, they're trying to trade up into an elite, maybe? Could just be trying to trade up into an elite here. Yeah, alright. Feels like a pretty good position for me. They're down to a 1/1 and a card in hand. Pretty much playing off the top here. We've still got another mask in hand and an unused mask on board. Visions of Phyrexia, I mean, that's a card, but it's not going to be enough here. 1 blocker, they block our 4/4, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They just die. Daubers. Exactsies. Alright. Well, there you have it. Whatever happens now, an incredible start to the Arena Open Day 2 draft. This is draft number 1, and we are 3 round wins in, 2-0 in every single round, and we are guaranteed to be playing in the Arena Open Day 2, draft number 2. The question is it going to be single elimination for us? Or are we going to 4-0 the first draft so that we get 2 losses in the second round? We get 1 loss of breathing room in draft number 2. We'll find out, but I'm incredibly happy. Whatever happens here, we get to play another 4-round draft in the Arena Open Day 2, another highly competitive Brothers War draft, and even a 3-1 run for the Arena Open Day 2 Draft 1 is a very respectable result. So whatever happens here, incredibly happy with this deck, incredibly happy with its performance. We are a bombless deck here. We're just a regular good old aggro pile with a decent bit of removal, some interaction like Aya's Gifts. Just a good curve of creatures, some very basic stuff here, but some bread and butter magic. Gonna find us the victories, gonna get us into draft number 2. And let's find out if we get to have a double elimination draft number 2 or just a single elimination. Here we are for the final round of the Arena Open Day 2 draft number 1. This is gonna be a snap keep. We are on the play. Decent curve of creatures here. Opponent starts with a Chromatic Star. Let's start with the Blanchwood Prowler. I already have the mana to cast everything but Onulet in hand, so I'm a little tempted to just leave everything's power nice and high here, which I think I will. I'm just going to leave Prowler at 2 power, so I can go 2 power creature into 4 power creature into 4 power creature, and just to be on the beat down here. Opponent is going to cycle the Chromatic Star to draw a card, and drop a Power Stone Engineer. That's awkward for us. A 1/1 Blanchwood Prowler would have been just as good at trading into that, but we're still going to attack in because we're going to play a 4/2, which would be abysmally bad at attacking into a Power Stone Engineer. So we need to get that thing out of the way. Prison Sentence on Razor Maw. A little awkward, but we can still use the Razor Maw to tap to cast the Warlord's Elite at least. So it is still going to help us next turn. Still going to find some use out of it, even if it is locked down. Now we've got a Gaia's Gift coming up, pretty sweet. Hoping to draw land, honestly, so we can just keep curving out with Onulet. Probably was a little bit greedy of me to try to just curve out Prowler as a 2-2. Lauren to bring back Chromatic Star. That's going to be an additional card draw for my opponent. They are definitely up a card here, getting some good card advantage out of that. And we did hit the land for the Onulet, which is beautiful. Certainly the play for the turn. Just keep curving out on them. And Pallbearer should be a real nice finisher here whenever we hit the 6th land. But our opponent has a ton of cards in hand here, and we have found the matchup we are definitely not going to win. Wormcoil Engine is one of the best cards ever printed in Limited and Draft in general. It is a 6/6 Death Touch lifelink, and when it dies, they get a 3/3 Death Touch and a 3/3 lifelink, and it has completely turned this game around where I was on the lead on board by quite a bit. I was about to play a Pallbearer and get a really good attack in, and now I'm just going to lose, because even if I slam down Pallbearer and make one of these a 6/6, which I can't do, I can only make it a 5/5, it would trade into that, and they'd still have another Death Toucher to kill another one of my creatures, and they have a Lauren, so if they play another Legend, they just bring back the Wormcoil Engine from grave. Wormcoil Engine, one of the kind of Grown Test sort of cards in Brothers War, which is why I was so worried about not having bombs in this deck. This format has bombs like Wormcoil that pretty much nullify every decision made throughout the game, to where it's like, well, I guess Wormcoil Engine has been cast, so the player who casts Wormcoil Engine will win. It's pretty much as simple as that, because in order to kill that now, I have to double block it, lose 2 of my creatures, and they don't even really lose anything. Wormcoil Engine goes to the grave, but they get a 3/3 Death Toucher and a 3/3 Lifelinker. I'm just going to, and if I never block it, I'm never going to win, because I'm going to take 6 and they're going to gain 6, be back to 22, so no matter what happens, Wormcoil just handily wins the game here. But I'm just going to be really happy that we didn't face this deck until round 4. Of course, they've got ways to give it indestructible too. Because it's entirely possible to just like draft a really good deck in this format and then just play against the Wormcoil Engine deck in like the first 2 rounds, and then it's like, well, I guess this great deck went 2-2 and I don't get to go to draft number 2, so was wondering how we were having such great matchups against the bombs. You know, getting rid of like the Visions of Phyrexia and stuff like that just immediately was always good. I think our only way that we could possibly 2-1 this match would be if I immediately draw into my exile-based removal, which I only have 1 of. I have 1 exile-based removal and 1 arrest. I guess either of those would work against the Wormcoil. The problem is that they're also running Lauren's Escape, so they just need to wait till turn 7 to play Wormcoil. Right, they just need to use a Power Stone to play Wormcoil and leave a single white mana up, and then I can't even remove it with my very few ways that I have to actually get rid of it. So let's see how we're going to get blown out this time. The crazy thing about Wormcoil Engine is they don't even need a trick here to blow us out. They just need any Legend with Lauren. But they've got the trick too. Yeah, let's move on to game 2 here. Well, I'm not going to write off this round just yet. If my opponent doesn't draw Wormcoil Engine the next 2 games, I've got a shot. So let's play it out and see if we can get as much information about their deck as possible before I lose. But this game is 100% a write-off at this point. So we've got Machine Over Matter, Lauren's Escape. Start a little notepad here. Oh my god, they've got that as well. Tap down both our creatures. Okay, so instance. Lauren's Escape. Machine Over Matter. Lauren, Disciple of History. Wormcoil Engine. Warlords Elite. Going full try hard here. Because I want to beat this deck, because this kind of stuff does tilt me. I'm going aggro. Everything in my power to beat this Wormcoil. Alright. Involuntary cooldown. That was the card that just locked down my board there. Alright, well, shoot down's going in here. I can tell you that much. Okay, I already just kind of listed everything in the deck. There's Lauren, that's just whatever. I have no way to exile stuff from graves, that's just a thing. Riposte is really bad in here. In this matchup. Mask is... I mean, without Wormcoil Engine, their deck's not that fast. Mask is probably fine. Aeronaut's Wings, we didn't see any flyers from them. The one Aeronaut's Wings is probably fine. I have a ton of removal in there. They had a prison sentence. Prison sentence for removal. Double Gaia's Gift probably enough. Seeing the one removal spell. I guess Machine Over Matter, the bounce spell as well. Being able to give stuff hexproof is kind of nice. I don't think we're putting both Lauren's Escapes in, but I could see putting one in. Yeah, no, the big takeaway here is we just need to not run up into that Wormcoil. That thing is going to destroy us, but if we have a shoot down in the deck, we have 3 ways to stop it. Prison Sentence, Static Net, and shoot down. It's about as good as it's going to get here. Power Stone Engineer, 2 mana 2/1s here do make the Razor Maws worse, but we've got the gifts at least there potentially. Epic Confrontation doesn't seem very good in here. Like, it can get rid of Lauren. But, like, it's not going to do anything against the only important card that we saw, which was Wormcoil. Like, their 4/4 bodies, it's kind of fine against, I guess. I think I'm just going to actually cut that and run the double mask here. Alright, game 2 of 3 for round 4. Will we run up into the Wormcoil again? We did not see a second legend from our opponent, so we didn't see another way to get that Wormcoil back from grave. But again, if it dies in the first place, they get 2 3/3s out of it, so even if they don't recur it, it's going to be a really bad time. Keeping this hand mainly just because we have Prison Sentence, so we can actually, we can beat a Wormcoil here if they don't have a way to sacrifice it, which in blue-white, it's a little difficult to. They do have a way to put it back in their hand. Right, we saw 1 bounce spell in their deck, but 1 bounce spell is not enough to cut a Prison Sentence. Oh wow, now they're just curving out really aggressive in the sky here. That's pretty bad news for us. Yep, this hand is not monumentally aggressive. I think I just trade into a flyer at this point. I could never block that thing anyway, so... Alright, I basically got to block a wing commando with my ground troop. And I milled my shoot down. And no unearth. Not ideal. Oh my god. This is like a completely different deck. This game, they're just turn 2, 2 power flyer, turn 3, 2 power flyer, turn 4, 2 power flyer. This is a really bad sign for us. Building that does seem reasonable, because we do need to get a way to kill flyers. So we need to draw into something else, and the fact that we can mill it away and still sort of half draw a card is kind of nice. I've got this Prison Sentence. I'd ideally like to not have to use that on a flyer here, but if they don't play a land again this turn, they're far enough away from even casting a Wormcoil in the first place that I should probably just shut off flyers right now. Yeah, probably have to just Prison Sentence here. Thopter mechanic's pretty good. When it dies, they get another flyer. They get a 1/1 flyer. They're just going to immediately get that 1/1 flyer. Fair enough. Let's scry 2, see what we're finding. Scrapwork Cohort Warlords Elite. I mean, they're Good cards. I definitely keep Cohort. I feel like I get rid of Warlord's Elite. I mean, I'm only taking 3 a turn now in this guy, so I could try to outrace with a 4/4, but Cohort races for like just as much damage, and it's also going to trigger Steel Seeker twice, so that we get to look at the top 2 cards of our library and get those out of the way. So Cohort's actually like pretty reasonable here, because it's going to lend itself very well to the outracing game plan while also helping set up our draws, so we'll go for that. Warlord's Elite. We don't like to see that, but with Cohort on board, we're going to make Vanguard 4 power, so we get to attack in still this turn with everybody. Alright, draw land. And a Razormaw, that's not good here, mill that. Get it out of the way. Prison sentence on the Onulet. Kind of just need to like static net this Warlord's Elite and we should probably just win. But do not have a static net. I've got a Mask of the Jadecrafter here with Vanguard that's going to be 2 ETBs. We're taking 3 on the crackback. I should have not played that land, because if I hit a land on top with Steel Seeker, I would rather have played this land. Yeah. It's a little awkward. We could have played Mask first and then just played this land that I just drew, and then my opponent wouldn't know that my hand is just a land anyway. We're 100% just making a 6/6 here. Obstinate Baloth's actually kind of big. That gives us another turn. Gain 4 life. They're dealing 3 to us a turn. I can certainly send in Vanguard. If I send everybody in, they kill the Cohort. Take 4, 5, 6. Next turn we have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. I can go Baloth and unearth the Onulet. If I attack with everybody here and they have 1 removal spell to use on our 6/6, we just die. I feel like the best reason not to attack is just to have more blockers. I could see Cohort 1/1 being a pretty reasonable attack here, though, but I guess next turn we're just like attacking for lethal if they send in the flyers, though. Right? Because we're hitting them to 8 here, then they're going to have 3 blockers. 1 blocker if they attack with the flyers. With 1 blocker, they block the 6/6, take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, we super lethal them if they just attack with the flyers next turn. Alright, they're just going to take the trade. Onulet makes me feel... I mean, Onulet plus Baloth, we're getting 6 life next turn. And now that the 4/4 is gone, we have good attacks with everybody currently. I guess it depends what creature they cast here. This is a really, really well-made deck from our opponent. They just have a really nice, consistent blue-white soldier kind of flyer aggro deck there. Oh yeah, Machine Over Matter's pretty good against 6/6 tokens. No other creature to play here, though, which means Baloth Onulet here is going to be big. I'm going to Baloth first in case they have a Scatter Ray, then I can afford to pay for it. Just keep milling anything that doesn't immediately impact the game. There's a Riposte of their own. It's a pretty good card to put in for game 2s. As we sided it in last round and it worked really well for us there as well. So we crack back for 6 here, but I have Cohort. So that actually is a crackback for 9 if they don't get a blocker down. I have Cohort and Mask I can choose to play next turn. Gonna take 4 turns for us to die in the sky at 10 life after that huge life gain. Static net it is. That gets rid of the Baloth. And now our attacks are significantly worse. Oh, it's going to get rid of Prison Net and try to outrace us in the sky again. Now they kill us in 2 attacks in the sky. Yeah, that's very bad for us. Got static necking and exile anything. Well, I'm happy I milled my 4/4 on the ground. We're still just looking for more static net style removal. Airlift Chaplain is not static net style removal, but it is a blocker to not die in the sky next turn. It's actually quite reasonable. It is 3 mana to play that, and we have 9 mana total. I could play Mask and make a 3/3 and play Chaplain, or I could just play Cohort and play Chaplain. I feel like we're on Cohort Chaplain here. That's awkward. That is so awkward. So now if I play Chaplain, I mill that. But I have to play Chaplain, so... Yikes. I guess I just keep that there? Because it's not a static net, and I just don't want to mill static net. So I just hope that I keep static net tucked away far enough. Our opponent probably just has another removal spell and we just die, but we'll see. They are dead on board to a Gaia's Gift. Alright. Fair chump. No removal spell from opponent, please. I did not mill my static net. And I am just going to make a 1/1 because I have 2 masks now. And this can help, again, pull towards that static net by digging lands out of the way. Really digging lands out of the way. Alright. Please don't removal spell me out of the game. 1 removal spell on Chaplain, it's over. Yep. That's game. Not much we can do there. Close game, though. Almost won that game, too. That was a really rough matchup, because their deck played completely differently in game 2 as well, so we couldn't really have sideboarded that out. They were like a blue-white grind fest game 1, with multiple ways to recur and draw cards. And then game 2, all of a sudden, it's just entirely Flyers aggro. I don't think we saw a single Flyer game 1. So, I mean, that was rough. Obviously, if I knew the makeup of their actual deck for game 2, we could have sideboarded better with Deadlier Post and stuff to get rid of those cheap Flyers, but they just drew in such a way that really masked what their deck was actually trying to do. So yeah, just the kind of guaranteed loss against the Wormcoil Engine game 1, and then game 2 just don't have the pieces to stop the flying aggro. Rough stuff there, but 3-1 still, again, a very good record here, and I am more than happy to play against a deck that powerful in the final round after I'm already locked in to day 2 draft number 2. So we are going to be back again for the Magic Arena Open Day 2 draft number 2. That will be in a few hours now, so that's going to be recorded in a separate session. Probably edit together this video and upload it right now while I'm waiting for the next round. So that's probably going to end today's video. But yeah, really great run. Really happy with this deck's performance. I did not think this deck could get 3 wins, so I'm perfectly happy losing that last round overall. I think my opponent's deck was incredibly powerful. It was like a really good deck at the baseline, like in that second game. In that second game, if their deck is exactly how it was built, except it doesn't have a Wormcoil Engine, they're just a really good blue-white aggro Flyers deck, I think we have like a really even matchup here where we both just have a really nice streamlined aggro deck in a different variety. Again, if I had more cards like Deadlier Post in there, I probably could have won that game. Like if I had drawn a Deadlier Post at some point. To be fair, I probably could have won if I just drew my static net also, but there's a very, very even matchup when you don't account for the Wormcoil Engine, and I think their deck was really, really well built and well drafted, so I am very happy with how this deck performed. I don't think this deck's perfect, like I don't love the Razor Maws because of that low toughness for 3, but it played out really, really well. It was competing with obviously some very, very competitive players, some very competitive decks today, and yeah, yeah, I think my least favorite thing has been the mask in this deck, because this deck's pretty slow, not a lot of power stones and stuff, so that's been relatively constantly getting sideboarded out. And I think even in this last game, in that last round where I did keep them in, because my opponent's deck looked like a blue-white grindfest value deck, even in that matchup, they ended up being just a super aggro Flyers deck where it would have been better to cut the masks for riposts and stuff. But yeah, overall, incredibly good work done from our deck, competing with some very high-quality decks. Well-drafted stuff from our opponents today. Some very good aggro decks that also had some bombs, but luckily for us, we had the removal for the bombs in a lot of the matchups, just not in the very last one there. So 3-1, great record today, and I'm super excited for draft number 2, because there's potentially cash prizes on the line. However, it's going to be single elimination, 1 match loss, and I'm out, so it's going to be really, really difficult. If I get paired up against the blue-white Flyers deck with a Worm Coil Engine backup in round 1, it's probably just all over for me, but we'll find out. That'll be tomorrow's video. If you are interested in seeing that, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That'll let the YouTube algorithm know to send you recommendations for all of my future videos. And as always, once again, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.